Hello everyone, welcome back to Foot Forecast. In today's video, I'm going to be going through my Arsenal rebuilds for next season. And despite failing to win the Champions League for Arsenal, it's still been a great season for Arsenal, winning the Premier League, which means there'll be no discussion really around Arteta's future at Arsenal as the manager. He's done a great job turning Arsenal into the best defence in the league by some distance, which has resulted in them winning the league. But now Arsenal need to turn themselves into also one of the best attacks in the league. So that will be the next step for Arsenal to take, and that is the step I'm going to be discussing in this video. How do Arsenal become more effective as a side going forward? So let's get into the keep and sell, starting off the keepers, and the first keeper is David Raya, and of course I will be keeping David Raya as Arsenal's number one next season. He's been an outstanding goal for Arsenal this season and been so crucial for them in their title win. Then I'm on to Kepa. I'm going to look for better in a backup goalkeeper than Kepa for next season. I think if Raya gets injured, this could be a real problem for Arsenal. I don't think Kepa's even good enough to be an Arsenal number two, and I think that was proven in the cup final. Some people may just say it's a backup keeper, it doesn't mean a lot. And look, this could end up being true, but I just think it's not worth the risk. You might as well go get a good number two and someone that's better than Kepa. Then I'm on to Ben White, and I'm going to look to sell Ben White. He's been a very good servant for Arsenal, but at this point he's just too injury prone, and I'm not even sure if he's good enough to be an Arsenal backup. At this point, he just can't stay fit, and they just need someone more reliable next season who can do a similar job to Ben White. Then I'm on to Jurrien Timber. This is an easy keep for Arsenal. Timber's been brilliant for Arsenal this season. He has had the odd injury problem, but overall he's had a great season, and this is an easy keep. Then I'm on to William Saliba. This is another easy keep. He's been brilliant for Arsenal this season, especially in the second half of the season. In the second half of the season, I think he's been the best defender in the Premier League. And now let's discuss the best defender in the first half of the season, and that is Gabriel. He's been outstanding for Arsenal this season once again. And look, he did miss the decisive penalty in the shootout against PSG, but that doesn't take away from a very good season from Gabriel. Then I'm on to Christian Mosquera. I think Mosquera is a very good backup centre-half for Arsenal that can play as a right-back. Obviously conceded the penalty in the final against PSG, but overall he still had a pretty good game, did Mosquera, and he's had a very good season. Then I'm on to Hincapié. It's already been confirmed that Arsenal will be activating that future fee for Hincapié, so I'm going to put him into the keep. And I think this is an obvious keep, someone that can play centre-half and left back. There has been some interest from Barcelona in Hincapié, but I think Arsenal will keep him, and I'd be looking to keep him. And then I've got Calafiori, and I'm also going to put Calafiori into the keep. The problem with Calafiori is injuries, but when he plays, he's been very good for Arsenal this season. He was excellent in the first 15 games of this season for Arsenal, and I think that is an obvious keep. Then I'm on to the midfielders, and starting off with Zubimendi. First half of the season, brilliant. Second half of the season, not so good, but it's still a keep for me. I think if Arsenal bring in a decent backup for Zubimendi, or someone that can provide competition, he won't be so poor in the second half of the season. For me, the reason why he dropped off was, first of all, because he's not the most physical player, but second of all, because there wasn't sufficient backup, which resulted in Zubimendi playing too many games for Arsenal, and we saw the damage of that at the back end of the season. And the player that was actually providing backup for Zubimendi was Christian Norgard. And look, I think Norgard should have been given more opportunities for Arsenal this season, but Arteta clearly doesn't rate him, so for that reason I'm going to put Norgard into the sell. Then I'm on to Lewis Scully, who can play at left back and in midfield. For me now, I think Lewis Scully is a midfielder at Arsenal, and of course I'll be looking to keep Lewis Scully around next season. He should be given more minutes next season as a backup midfielder. Then I'm on to Declan Rice, and I'm going to put Rice into the keep. This is fairly obvious. Being a standout player for Arsenal this season and a leader in that side. Then I'm on to Mikel Merino, being injured for the second half of the season, but I'd be looking to keep Merino around as a squad option at Arsenal. I think he's willing to do this, and I think he provides decent depth for the following season. Then I'm on to Martin Odegaard, and I actually think this is quite a difficult one because there is an argument to sell a player like Odegaard and get better because he's only got 2 years left on his deal. So he's really now only got 1 year to impress because right now I don't think Odegaard's earns a contract. And then you could argue that you could go out there and get someone better than a player like Martin Odegaard, as he hasn't been operating at sort of a top level now for a couple of years and he's had some injury concerns. But despite this, I'd be looking to keep Odegaard for one more season at least and give him more freedom next season. So I'm going to put him into the keep. Then I'm on to Eze, and I'd be looking to keep Eze as the backup 10 for next season. I've been a bit disappointed with Eze this season. He hasn't really stepped up for Arsenal, and of course he missed the penalty against PSG. I think people expected more from him than he has shown so far, but this is exactly what I expected from Eberechi Eze. He is just an inconsistent player and he often turns up in the last couple of months of the season but struggles for the first 6. And that's not good enough to start week in, week out for Arsenal. So most likely I'm keeping him as a backup. Then I'm on to the attackers and starting off with Max Dellman. And of course I'm looking to keep Max Dellman around. And next season he'd be my backup right winger. And then I'm on to Bukayo Saka, another obvious keep at Arsenal, one of Arsenal's most talented players and Arsenal's best attacker. Then I'm on to Noni Madueke, and this is going to be a bit controversial because he is a new signing from Arsenal. I'd be looking to sell Madueke, it's that simple. I think Arsenal have got more talented players that can play on that right-hand side than Madueke, and I think he's very average. You can play Bukayo Saka out there, and you can play Max Dellman, as well as Ethan Nwaneri, who would be keeping it as a backup right winger for next season. I would much prefer Dellman and Nwaneri as the backup wingers for next season, as I think Madueke is a very average player. Then I'm on to Trossard, and look, I don't actually mind keeping Trossard around as sort of a 5th or 6th choice attacker for next season. I think he's a decent option out on the left, and he can come up with a crucial goal assist at times. If you can sell Trossard and get better, then I would, but I've got bigger priorities than the backup left winger. Then I'm on to Gabriel Martinelli. I'm looking to sell Martinelli. Just get what you can for him. You may get £30 million, something around that for a player like Martinelli, so I'm going to put him into the sell. Then I'm on to Gabriel Jesus. Injuries have just ruined Jesus. He's just not good enough to play for Arsenal anymore. He was outstanding in the first 6 months for Arsenal, but ever since then, he has just continued to drop and drop as a player, and he's now not even good enough, I think, to make the squad. So for that reason, I'm going to put Jesus into the sell. He is, though, the sort of profile attacker that I would be considering for Arsenal next season. Then I'm on to Kai Havertz. Look, I think Havertz is a very average attacker, but I think as a striker option, maybe off the bench, I'd be willing to keep Havertz around, and he can also come up with a crucial goal. So for that reason, I'm going to put him in the keep, and I'm going to do the same with Victor Gyökeres. I don't think Gyökeres is good enough to play for Arsenal, but I don't mind him as a bench option in the last 20 minutes when you're leading in a game. This is because defences are starting to tire and there's more space in behind because the opposition are looking to attack more because they are 1-0 down. This will suit Gyökeres a lot more. He can be a bit more of a battering ram, which he struggled to be this season for Arsenal, because sides have looked to sit him, which doesn't really suit Gyökeres' play style. So what I'd look to do is use options like Havertz and Gyökeres off the bench. Now let's go for a potential lineup for Arsenal next season. So let's start off the keeper, and of course I'm keeping David Raya. And then I think the back four is fine of Urian Timber, Saliba, Gabriel. And next season I'd be looking to bring Calafiori back into the starting lineup, as I think that Arsenal need more balance in their fullbacks. Timber can be the more defensive-minded one, but Calafiori can be the more attacking-minded fullback. And if Arsenal did this would make them a better side going forward, which I think is important for them next season. Then I'm into the midfield 3, and I've got Zubimendi slightly deeper. Then I've got Rice in the 8, and Odegaard almost as a right 8 or a right 10. I think this is Odegaard's best position, and I would trust Odegaard and Zubimendi to start next season. I think if you give Odegaard more freedom and if you give Zubimendi more rest, then both of those players will be good enough to start for Arsenal. If Odegaard isn't good enough to start next season, then I would just sell him and buy a world-class 10, because I don't trust Eze to start week in, week out. Then in attack, Arsenal for me need a world-class left winger and striker. striker. For me, the striker profile is either a big man profile like a Victor Osimhen, who can be a target man. He's great in the air, great at holding up the ball. His work rate is outstanding, and his link-up play is also great. Or a striker that sort of drops in like a Gabriel Jesus. A great option could be Julian Alvarez, but it looks like he's off to Barca. And I think the ideal player is probably someone like a Harry Kane, but he would never join Arsenal out of his loyalty to Spurs. The reason why I say these sort of profiles work for Arsenal is Arsenal at points this season, when sides are pressed high like a Bournemouth or a Manchester City, Arsenal have struggled to play out, which has resulted in them going long, which has resulted in Gyökeres not being good enough at holding up the ball and linking up play. If you add someone like an Osimhen, then he'd be excellent at doing this. And I think the reason for having a striker that's sort of not really a real number 9 is because in the past, Arsenal have looked the best with false nines. We saw that happen with Gabriel Jesus in the 22-23 season, and then we saw it happen the season later with Kai Havertz up front. That's when Arsenal have looked the most dangerous going forward, so that's why I'm looking for a similar profile for Arsenal next season. And if you look at the big games, Arteta often goes with Kai Havertz, which suggests he prefers that sort of profile as his number 9 against the top sides. So for that reason, I'm looking for a striker like that or a big target man up front. Now let's look at the depth for Arsenal next season. So for me, they need to go and improve the goalkeeper position because Kepa isn't good enough. Then I'm looking for a backup right back, similar profile to Ben White, who can stay fit. Then I've got the centre halves, and I'm playing Mosquera and Hincapié as the backup centre halves. Now you could play Hincapié as the left back, but I'm looking for an attacking minded left back like a Calafiori. But you of course have the option just to play Hincapié there if you want a more defensive minded option at points. But I want a fullback that's better going forward. If you look to play Hincapié as a left back next season, then you probably need to go by a backup centre half, or you could just chance it and buy no backups in half or left back. Then I'm into the midfield and I'm looking to buy some cover in the midfield. And for me, this is a midfielder that can start week in, week out in the 6 or the 8 and provide genuine cover for Zubimendi and Rice. And if you buy this sort of player, then he could 100% start ahead of Zubimendi or Rice. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for quality depth for Arsenal next season to retain the Premier League. Because I think a real problem for Arsenal at the end of the season was the midfield. It was starting to tire. That resulted in some subpar performances from Arsenal at the end of the season. You've also got Lewis Scully, who can play in the midfield as depth, and also Eze, who can be a backup 10. But if Eze starts ahead of Odegaard, then I'm looking to play Eze as the left 10. I think Eze's better in the left 10 and Odegaard's better in the right 10. You've also got Mikel Merino, who's a good option in the midfield. Now let's go into the attack, and I want to give Dalman the keys. So for me, Dalman is the backup right winger for next season instead of Ethan Wanyeri, who's a squad option. And I would also be looking to keep Trossard as a depth option on the left wing, as I think he is a decent sub. Eze can also play on the left. If Arteta does look to keep Dalman as the backup right winger for next season, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually moves Madueke as the backup left winger instead of Trossard, but I think Trossard's a better option than Madueke. And then up front, you've got Havertz and Gyökeres, who can be the backup strikers, which gives you different options for different situations and great depth in the striker position. So that is the end of this video. Please let me know your thoughts on this Arsenal rebuild. Do you agree with what I've said or do you disagree? Who would you be looking to keep and sell? What would be your starting lineup? And if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as liking the video.